Hi guys, so I just want to go over using color pencils with our illustrations, because I've noticed that a lot of you are gravitating towards colored pencils. And I wanted to just give you this little lesson so that you know how to use them properly, and a few little tips and tricks. The other thing I wanted to go over with you guys is that colored pencils are really delicate. So this little pink wick goes all the way through the pencil. You can see it meets on the other side. And if you drop this pencil, it's going to split all the way down the pencil. So you have to be very delicate and treat your pencils with a lot of care so that doesn't happen. Otherwise, every time you sharpen it, that little end is just going to fall out and keep falling out because it's got nothing to hold on to throughout the pencil. So pencils work with a lot of layers, and I'm just using a drawing that I've done with my 8th graders to show everybody throughout all my classes how to use color pencils properly. You can see here I've put in a base layer for my ostrich who's doing ballet, and this is her little ballet skirt. And I've just very lightly put in that color, and that's not done yet. That's just the very base layer, right? And then I've put in the yellow of the sun as a base layer as well. And because the sun is shining on the skirt, that yellow is hitting the edges of the skirt. And you can see it starts to create quite a fun color, almost an orange. And that's what happens in real life, you know, if you're outside and the sun touches your hair and the light shines off your hair, you're going to get little wisps of yellow and white and orange running through the streaks of your hair and your skin. So this is what we're trying to achieve when we're using color. The same with the ostrich body. So the ostrich is quite dark in these areas, and so I'm going to go in with the blue first.
It's just my base color.
And using the direction that the feathers go in is helpful to get a correct marking. So I noticed some of you were kind of scribbling with your pencils, and you have to be kind of delicate with the way you apply them. So we're going in very lightly at first, just to try and understand how that color goes in. Now that I've got the blue, I want to add some colors on top so that this color becomes darker and more vibrant. So I'm going in now with the purple. And you can see how quickly that purple really adds dimension to the ostrich's feathers. Sunlight is hitting the back of my ostrich because the sun is right there. So I'm going to add a little bit of yellow on the ostrich back. And I'm starting to apply more pressure now because I want that color to kind of start becoming set. Start looking its most vibrant. Put a little bit in the tail as well. And you could go through your entire picture and just kind of show yourself where the sun is hitting, just so that when you start drawing, you have a good idea of the little areas that the sun is hitting. And you're always looking to see where the sun is. So here I can see on the trees, the leaves of my trees are going to have a little bit of yellow in them because the sun is hitting them right there, just on the edges of this branch. And here it's becoming less because the sun cannot get to those areas. Same with the bird, a little bit up front. And so it's quite a process, and that's why I wanted you guys to take your time with this project, because I want you to understand how things work, and for me to be able to explain to you how we can layer things and take our time with art to make things work. I know a lot of you were saying, I don't know how to do art, this is tough. And this is the time for you to be like, oh, okay, Mrs. Dillard, show me how I can do this. Show me how I can do this, so that you can learn and improve along the way. So you can see now we've got a nice bit of yellow. We can also consider shadows. So where are our darker areas? Where is the sun not hitting? So you can take like a purple, which is quite dark, and you can go in on the areas where it's darker. Right? Just very lightly. So here at the bottom of the ostrich, the sun is not going to hit there. So we can go a little bit darker in there. Consider that your images or your subjects will have a shadow. So if they're standing, their leg will make a shadow. And doing this is just guiding our eye to know okay, this part is in shadow, other parts are in light because of the sunlight, right? And the sun is bright, so we can add yellow all the way around our sun. And as long as you're going lightly with this pencil, you can almost make mistakes, and then you can go in and you have the freedom to correct those mistakes with other colors. And so I'm just taking some of my pencil markings out so that things don't become muddy. And if I run lightly over my image, I'm able to just take those lines out without removing all the pencil work that I've done. See, now I still know where everything's going, but it's lighter with the pencil, so it won't be as muddy when I draw. So don't be scared just to run lightly over it with an eraser. See how I'm moving my pencil in the direction that the sunlight would kind of go. Once you're happy with your light and your shadow, you can start going in and blocking in colors that you think would appear in the scene. So for instance, we're obviously going to have sky. And if we go in lightly throughout the picture, we can put that sky in without leaving too many markings. That's one thing I was noticing with some of you that are already finished, is you went in too heavy with your pencil in the beginning and it created little lines. And so that didn't give you a realistic effect because you were going too hard with your color pencil. You see how I'm changing directions and going very lightly to fill those spaces. And color pencils take time and practice to get right, so don't become frustrated too easily. Just take this project as a project to practice and to become better at using your colored pencils, if you've chosen to use colored pencils. You can see there I'm starting to get a base layer. Another cool technique that you can use is you can take your pencil, and I have some pencils here that work really well for this, is you can take your pencil and you can sharpen it like this, and you'll get all that nice color, and you can just take that color and sprinkle it onto your page, and with a tissue or with your finger you can really get a nice wispy color by adding that onto your page. So now I can just go in with my finger, and it quite quickly becomes a nice color. So I've added all that color, I can just lift my page up, tap it, and throw that into the trash. And now look at that beautiful color it's created in the background. Let's do that with the sun as well. Submitted your final copy and you're thinking, I didn't do that with my pencils. Perhaps it would be a good idea to get a higher grade, to go back and work on those pencils a little bit more and then submit another one. And just let me know that you've submitted another one and I can change your grade to a higher grade. Wood pencils, and you want to use this technique, just take the wood piece out and then use the sharpenings on the page. Think about the direction that grass goes when you add things in as well. Any direction of anything that you're putting onto your page. Look how nice that looks. It looks pretty cool. Art is all about being inventive and finding new ways to approach things to make them more visually interesting. Thinking, why are we doing an illustration project? You know, we could be doing so many other creative things, but this is an important thing to learn, and it's something that I didn't learn until later on, and I wish I had learned it, because it gives you the ability to know so many other things, especially how to just come up with inventive ways to put down color. Okay, so we've got a nice base coloring on our background, and now we can start coming in back to our characters. You'll notice if I hold the pencil on its side, I can cover a lot more of the surface area than if I hold it like a regular pencil. And when I hold it like a regular pencil, that's time for detail. That's when I can come in here and show where that skirt is hitting. Shadow, right, because the sun isn't hitting, so I'm going a little darker in this area, and then I'm lightening up as I get to the middle. I'm going over that yellow to make it more vibrant with the pink. And orange go well together because they're also fairly close to each other on the color wheel. So I can bring some orange in here to darken up my pink. That are far away from each other on the color wheel is like here at the bottom of the skirt where we use blue to show shadow, right? Because we want that very big dark difference. You can see how many colors I'm laying over and then bringing that pink back so that the viewer knows that this is a pink skirt. When you have a color on top of another color, like if you're wearing a pink t-shirt, that pink t-shirt is going to pop and the color will show on your skin. Same with the feathers of this bird. If there's a pink skirt on this bird, you're going to see a little bit of that pink in the feathers. So I'm going to add that in there. White can be quite a useful color pencil. It almost acts as like a piece of chalk, in that it just finishes off the color. You see how I'm losing that that area that was kind of between the paper and the pencil showing through still. The white kind of just seals everything. And this is a time where you can also use watercolors to achieve this effect. So if you do colored pencil first, you could go in with watercolors and you could really finish it off nicely, just going over areas with the paint in similar color variations. And I know that I'm going to go in with my black fine tip pen at the end to make everything pop forward. So I can be a little bit, leave my white areas with a little bit less color. But here I know that this part is in shadow and I'm following the shape of the bird just to add a little bit of shadow on this side where the sun isn't hitting. For smaller areas you can hold your pencil like a regular pencil to get those areas in nice and neatly. Red also goes really well with pink, because pink is just red with some white, right? So we can add the red as a shadow color.
This is where you have to be careful with putting that white down, because now I can't get that red on top of it because it's sealed. So now that I've got quite a bit of pencil crayon in, what I can do now, if you have the option to use watercolor, you can start adding a bit of watercolor in. So you just take your paintbrush and your colors, and I'm going to get, for instance, a little bit of yellow here. And you will see how nicely it looks when you just add that little bit of color from the paint. Just adds a new dimension. Like we spoke about previously, this is a really good way to be creative with your paint or your types of mediums. So mediums mean pencil crayons, watercolors, oil paints, acrylics, tempera paint. Those are types of mediums. Lots of water, little bit of paint. And it helps create more depth to your painting. So all these steps, all this hard work, it pays off for the end of your picture. I can add my pen. Now that my painting or my illustration is dry, I can go in and I can start to add my ink pen. So what I have here, and you guys are welcome to get one if you're able, is a Sharpie ink pen, and it's got a nice fine tip. So that makes for a good line. If you don't have this, you can just use a black pen or a smaller Sharpie, whatever you're most comfortable with. And now I can just go in and I can start to add my pen detail. And this, you're going to see, is really going to make things pop forward. You don't have to add it everywhere, but just adding a little bit here and there is going to allow us to make our images really pop. So now you can see all my characters have popped forward using a pen to outline everything. I've added a couple of little markings to show movement. I've enhanced the speech bubble. I added some eyes to my son. I've added the little music that my bird is singing, and I've even added a few little textures to show hairs on the ostrich, and a couple to show feathers and just the grass around, and a little bit in the trees.